ਦੋਸਤੋ ਸਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਅੱਜ ਬੜੀ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਤੇ ਮਾਣ ਵਾਲੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਫੈਡਰਲ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਵਿਕਟੋਰੀਆ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਹੋਣ ਦਾ ਮਾਣ ਪਰਵਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਸਰਵਾਰਾ ਹੋਣਾ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਹੈ ਤੇ 18 ਮਈ ਨੂੰ ਜੋ ਫੈਡਰਲ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਹੋ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਿਕਟੋਰੀਆ ਤੋਂ ਸੈਨੇਟ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਉਹ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਵਾਉਣ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ। ਪਰਵਿੰਦਰ ਜੀ, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜੀ ਇੰਡੋ ਟਾਈਮ ਟੈਲੀਵਿਜ਼ਨ 'ਤੇ।
ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਜਸਵਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਅਤੇ ਇੰਡੋ ਟਾਈਮਸ ਦਾ ਜੋ ਮੇਰੇ ਉਰੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸ਼ਾਮਿਲ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ ਅਤੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਮੌਕਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਆਪਣੇ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਅਤੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਦੱਸਣ ਦਾ। ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਵੈਰੀ ਮਚ।
ਪਰਵਿੰਦਰ ਜੀ, ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਵਿਕਟੋਰੀਆ ਸੈਨੇਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹਦਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਲਈ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਹੈਗੇ, ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਰੋਤਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਦਿਓ। ਦਰਸ਼ਕ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵੀ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜਦੋਂ ਵੋਟਿੰਗ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਏਗੇ ਕਾਰਡ ਵਗੈਰਾ,
ਹਾਂਜੀ,
ਜੋ ਬੈਲਟ ਪੇਪਰ ਆਏਗਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਿਕ ਕਰਨਗੇ?
ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਮੈਂ ਥੋੜ੍ਹਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਦਾ ਕਿ ਵੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਇਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਦੇ ਫੈਡਰਲ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਵੋਟਿੰਗ ਕਰਨ ਜਾਣਾ, ਉਹਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ 2 ਬੈਲਟ ਪੇਪਰ ਮਿਲਣਗੇ ਜੀ, ਜਿਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਬੈਲਟ ਪੇਪਰ ਹੋਊਗਾ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਲੋਕਲ ਫੈਡਰਲ MP ਵਾਸਤੇ।
ਠੀਕ ਹੈ।
ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਜੀ ਮੈਂ ਹੁਣ ਇਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਸਕਲਿਨ ਇਲੈਕਟ੍ਰੇਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਅਤੇ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਲੋਕਲ ਫੈਡਰਲ MP ਐਂਡਰੂ ਜਾਈਲਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਦੁਬਾਰੇ ਕੰਟੈਸਟ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਅਤੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਵੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਲੇਬਰ ਤੋਂ ਹੀ MP ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਪਿਛਲੇ 2 ਟਰਮਸ ਤੋਂ, ਅਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਕਰਨ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ। ਅਤੇ ਜੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਾਂ ਜਦ ਸਿਲੈਕਟ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ ਅਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵੀ ਕਾਲਮ ਬੈਲਟ ਪੇਪਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ 1 to 6 ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਰੇ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਵੀ ਮੈਂਬਰਸ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ। ਅਤੇ ਦੂਜਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸੈਨੇਟ ਵਾਲਾ ਬੈਲਟ ਪੇਪਰ ਹੋਊਗਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉੱਪਰਲੇ ਪਾਸੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਪਾਰਟੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਬਾਕਸਿਸ ਟਿਕ ਕਰਨੇ ਆ ਅਤੇ ਉਹ 6 ਪਾਰਟੀਜ਼ ਨੇ 1 to 6 ਉੱਥੇ ਟਿਕ ਕਰਨੇ, ਅਤੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਹੀ ਥੱਲੇ ਪਾਰਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸੈਨੇਟਰਸ ਦੇ ਬਾਕਸਿਸ ਟਿਕ ਕਰਨੇ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੇ 1 to 12 ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਟਿਕ ਕਰਨੇ ਆ, ਅਤੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਦੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਹੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ 1 to 12 ਐਟਲੀਸਟ ਕਰਨੇ ਪੈਣੇ ਆ। ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਿਰਫ ਇੱਕ ਨੰਬਰ 1 ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਫੋਰ ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮਪਲ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਦੇਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਅਤੇ ਨੰਬਰ 1 ਜੇ ਇਕੱਲਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਦੇ ਕੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬਾਕੀ ਬਾਕਸਿਸ 12 ਤੱਕ ਖਾਲੀ ਛੱਡ ਦੋਗੇ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਵੋਟ ਉਹ ਰੱਦ ਹੋ ਜਾਊਗੀ, ਉਹ ਕਾਊਂਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਊਗੀ। ਅਤੇ ਮੇਕ ਸ਼ੋਰ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜੀ ਜੇ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ 1 to 6 ਪੂਰੇ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਕਰਨੇ ਪੈਣੇ ਆ, ਅਤੇ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਜੀ ਨੰਬਰ 1 ਮੈਨੂੰ ਦੇ ਕੇ ਅਤੇ 2 to 12 ਨੰਬਰ ਦੂਜੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਸੈਨੇਟਰਸ ਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਚੋਇਸ ਦੇ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਨਾਲ ਦੇ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ।
ਠੀਕ ਹੈ। ਅਤੇ ਪਰਵਿੰਦਰ ਜੀ, ਵੀ ਬੜੀ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਵਾਲੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈਗੀ ਕਿ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਵਾਰ ਲੇਬਰ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸੈਨੇਟ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਦੇ ਤੌਰ 'ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਟਿਕਟ ਮਿਲੀ ਹੈਗੀ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ,
ਬੜੀ ਮਾਣ ਵਾਲੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈਗੀ।
ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਜੀ।
ਅਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਆਪਣੇ ਏਰੀਏ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਕਲਨ ਏਰੀਏ ਤੋਂ ਹੈਗਾ, ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਵਿਕਟੋਰੀਆ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਵੈਸੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੈਗੇ ਹੋ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ,
ਹਾਂਜੀ,
ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਇੰਡੀਅਨ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਲਈ, ਅਤੇ ਕੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਵੀ ਕੀ ਹੋਣੇ ਵਾਲਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਕੰਮ ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੈਨੇਟ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਹੈਗੇ ਹੋ? ਮੇਜਰ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਦੇਖੀਏ ਜੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਓਵਰਆਲ ਤਾਂ ਜੀ ਦੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖੋ ਆਪਣੇ ਇੰਫਰਾਸਟਰਕਚਰ ਦੇ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਜੀ, ਆਪਣੇ ਹੌਸਪੀਟਲਸ ਉਰੇ ਹੋਰ ਬੈਟਰ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ, ਅਤੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਜੇ ਲੇਬਰ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਪਾਵਰ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਾਫੀ ਇੱਕ ਵੱਡਾ ਫੰਡ ਜਿਹੜਾ 2.8 ਬਿਲੀਅਨ ਦੇ ਆਸ-ਪਾਸ ਆਪਣਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਐਲੋਕੇਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈ ਜੋ ਆਪਣੇ ਹੌਸਪੀਟਲਸ ਨੂੰ ਇੰਪਰੂਵ ਕਰਨਗੇ। ਇਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਜੀ ਆਪਣੇ $14 ਬਿਲੀਅਨ ਦੇ ਆਸ-ਪਾਸ ਦੀ ਫੰਡਿੰਗ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਐਲੋਕੇਟ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈ ਜੀ ਸਕੂਲਸ ਵਾਸਤੇ, ਜਿਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਰਾਊਂਡ 3 ਮਿਲੀਅਨ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਸਿਰਫ 3 ਬਿਲੀਅਨ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਸਿਰਫ ਫਸਟ 3 ਈਅਰਸ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟਸ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ ਕਲਾਸਿਸ ਹੋਣਗੀਆਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ 'ਤੇ ਡਾਇਰੈਕਟ ਖਰਚਾ ਕਰਨਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ। ਅਤੇ ਬਾਕੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਲਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਕਿ ਆਪਣੀ ਲੋਕਲ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਇੰਡੀਅਨ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਦੇਖੀਏ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਕਾਫੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਐਜ਼ ਅ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੈਂਟ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਉਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਇੱਕ ਜੋ ਲੇਟੈਸਟ ਆਪਣੇ ਕਾਫੀ ਬੰਦੇ ਉਸ ਇਸ਼ੂ 'ਤੇ ਕੰਮ ਵੀ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ, ਉਹ ਹੈਗਾ ਜੀ ਆਪਣਾ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ ਦਾ ਲੌਂਗ ਸਟੇ ਪੇਰੈਂਟ ਵੀਜ਼ਾ। ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਉਸ 'ਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਵੀ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਾ ਜੀ। ਮੈਂ ਪਿਛਲੇ 4 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਅਰਵਿੰਦ ਦੁੱਗਲ ਜੀ ਅਤੇ ਜਸਵਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੱਧੂ ਜੀ ਇਹ 2 ਬੰਦੇ ਹੈ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਕੈਂਪੇਨ ਲਾਂਚ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈਲਪ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ, ਅਤੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਾ। ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਮਿਲ ਕੇ ਜਦ ਦਾ ਹੀ ਲੱਗੇ ਹੋਏ ਹਾਂ, ਅਤੇ ਲੇਬਰ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਨੇ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਲੌਂਗ ਸਟੇ ਪੇਰੈਂਟ ਵੀਜ਼ਾ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਪੋਲਿਸੀਜ਼ ਨੇ ਅਨਾਊਂਸ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਨੇ, ਜੋ ਮੇਰੇ ਖਿਆਲ ਨਾਲ ਜੀ ਕਾਫੀ ਫੇਅਰ ਨੇ। ਔਰ ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਵੀ ਜੇ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਤਰਫ ਤੋਂ ਜੋ ਕੁਝ ਹੋ ਸਕੇਗਾ ਮੈਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਲਈ ਬੈਟਰ ਟਰਮਸ ਐਂਡ ਕੰਡੀਸ਼ਨਸ ਹੋਰ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਐਡਵੋਕੇਸੀ ਕਰਾਂਗਾ ਜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਪਾਵਰ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜੀ। ਠੀਕ ਹੈ। ਤੇ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਪਰਵਿੰਦਰ ਜੀ, ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਕੀਮਤੀ ਸਮਾਂ ਕੱਢਿਆ, ਦਰਸ਼ਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਦਿੱਤੀ, ਤੇ ਨਾਲੋਂ ਨਾਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੰਡੋ ਟਾਈਮ ਟੈਲੀਵਿਜ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਸ਼ੁਭਕਾਮਨਾ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਜੀ, ਤੇ ਉਮੀਦ ਕਰਦੇ ਪ੍ਰਮਾਤਮਾ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕਾਮਯਾਬੀ ਬਖਸ਼ੇ, ਤੇ ਕਮੇਟੀ ਦੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੇਵਾ ਅੱਗੇ ਤੋਂ ਵੀ ਵੱਧ ਚੜ੍ਹ ਕੇ ਕਰੋਗੇ, ਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਸ਼ੁਭਕਾਮਨਾਵਾਂ ਜੀ।
ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਜੀ, ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਵੈਰੀ ਮਚ, ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਲਾਟ।
ਦੋਸਤੋ ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਪਰਵਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਸਰਵਾਰਾ ਜੋ ਕਿ ਵਿਕਟੋਰੀਅਨ ਸੈਨੇਟ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਨੇ ਲੇਬਰ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਅੱਜ ਫੰਕਸ਼ਨ 'ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਪਹੁੰਚੇ ਹਾਂ, ਤੇ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਪਰਵਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਸਰਵਾਰਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਥੋੜ੍ਹੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਵਾਈ, ਤੇ ਨਾਲ ਨਾਲ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਗੈਸਟ ਆਏ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਥੋੜ੍ਹੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਵਾਉਂਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ, ਤੇ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਕੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੀ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਨੇ। ਅੱਜ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਮੌਕਾ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਹੈ ਡਿਪਟੀ ਮੇਅਰ ਨੈਨਕਟ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਮਿਲਣ ਦਾ, ਤੋਂ ਅੱਜ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਨੇ ਨੈਨਕਟ। ਵੈਲਕਮ ਟੂ ਦਾ ਇੰਡੋ ਟਾਈਮ ਟੈਲੀਵਿਜ਼ਨ।
Thank you for having me, Taswinder.
Yeah, very well, thank you, and welcome to the show. When did you join the council?
I was elected to council in November 2016, and I've been deputy mayor since October of last year.
All right, okay. So what are the major issues for the Indian community?
I think the biggest issue in our community and in Hume City Council is growth at the moment. So we're a growth council. We're on the urban periphery of Melbourne, and we're the only council at the moment that's got two growth areas. So we've got one out in Sunbury, and we've got another growth area which is stretching out past Craigieburn. And one of the largest communities which is out there at the moment is our community from the subcontinent, our Indian community, our Sikh community, Nepalese community, Sri Lankan community who are moving into the area. There's tens of thousands of them who've come into the community over the past 8 years or so, and I've found them to be an incredibly generous community as well. We as a council are always trying to support everyone in our municipality. We've got over 160 different nationalities, I think 26 different faith groups, and through different measures we do places of worship tours. So I've visited the Gurudwara on Sydney Road, and we've visited there. I've through our council grants, we try to give grants to different Indian associations who need help with community events and whatnot. So we're trying to do a lot in this space, and one of the other things that we're trying to do as well is to build the infrastructure for the future. So build the community centres so that our communities locally, and particularly our Indian communities, will have places to meet, places to congregate, and places to hold their events.
And I did not know that one. Maybe a lot of people don't know. You know, Hume Council have two offices. One in the Sunbury.
One in Sunbury as well.
One here in the. And the other thing is, you know, we have a huge Indian community, Punjabi or Sikh community, fast growing in the Hume Council. So if anybody have any issues with the council or any advice, what the procedure to meet you or the council, how to contact?
If you've got any issue to do with a local government matter, maybe it might be a planning issue, it might be to do with rubbish, it might be to do with a park which you might want fixing up or improved, please come talk to your local councillors. All of our details are available on our website. You can reach me via my email address, naimk@hume.vic.gov.au, or on my mobile phone number, which is 0484 602 352.
Thank you very much for your time, and we wish you all the best, and hopefully you will help if any my community member or any organization have a problem with anything, so you will support them.
Oh, we will always try. Fantastic. Thank you. Lovely to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Wish you all the best. ਦੋਸਤੋ ਇੱਥੇ ਫੰਕਸ਼ਨ 'ਤੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਮੌਕਾ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਜਸਵਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਸਿੱਧੂ ਜੋ ਕਿ ਐਕਟਿਵਿਸਟ ਨੇ, ਪੋਲੀਟੀਕਲ ਐਕਟਿਵਿਸਟ ਨੇ, ਤੇ ਨਾਲੋਂ ਐਜੂਕੇਸ਼ਨਿਸਟ ਵੀ ਨੇ ਜਸਵਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਸਿੱਧੂ ਜੀ, ਤੇ ਨਾਲ ਉਹ ਪਾਲਿਸੀ ਐਡਵਾਈਜ਼ਰ ਵੀ ਨੇ ਲੇਬਰ ਦੇ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ,
ਤੇ ਜਸਵਿੰਦਰ ਜੀ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਹੈ ਜੀ ਇੰਡੋ ਟਾਈਮ
ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਜੀ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ, ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਖੁਸ਼ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੁਣ ਟੀਵੀ ਵੀ ਸਟਾਰਟ ਕਰ ਲਿੱਤਾ ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਬੜੇ ਸਾਲਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਮੌਕਾ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਵੈਲਕਮ ਹੈ ਜੀ।
ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਜੀ।
ਤੇ ਜਸਵਿੰਦਰ ਜੀ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਕਾਫੀ ਦੇਰ ਤੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਪਏ ਹੈਗੇ ਹੋ?
ਹਾਂਜੀ,
ਤੇ ਕੀ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ, ਕੀ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਹੋਣਾ ਹੈ ਇੰਡੀਅਨ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੀ ਜੇ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾਵੇ?
ਹਾਂਜੀ,
ਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਦੇਖੋ
ਦਰਸ਼ਕ
ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਤਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਜਨਰਲ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਨੇ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਬਾਕੀ ਦੂਸਰੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਵੀ ਨੇ, ਜਿਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿ ਪੇ ਰਾਈਜ਼ ਦਾ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਹੈ, ਜਾਂ ਇਨਕਮ ਟੈਕਸ ਦਾ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਹੈ, ਜਾਂ NBN ਦੀ ਸਪੀਡ ਦਾ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਹੈ, ਜਾਂ ਹੋਰ ਕਾਫੀ ਸਾਰੇ ਜੋ ਰੀਸੈਂਟ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਆਏ ਨੇ ਐਜੂਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਨਾਲ ਰਿਲੇਟਡ ਨੇ। ਪਰ ਜੋ ਸਾਡੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਨੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਡਾ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਚੱਲ ਰਿਹਾ ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਡੇਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹ ਹੈਗਾ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਰੀਯੂਨੀਅਨ ਦਾ।
ਠੀਕ ਹੈ।
ਅਗਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਦੇਖੋ ਜਾਂ ਹੋਰ ਕੰਟਰੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਦੇਖੋ ਤਾਂ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ, ਮੈਂ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਗਿਆ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ, ਤੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸ਼ਾਮ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਓ ਤਾਂ ਹਰ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੇਖਦਾ ਕਿ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਪਾਰਕਾਂ 'ਚ ਨੇ, ਘੁੰਮ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ, ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨੇ। ਇੱਥੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਕੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਇੱਥੇ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ, ਸਾਲ ਰੁਕ ਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਫਿਰ 6 ਮਹੀਨੇ ਵਾਪਸ ਜਾਣਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ, ਫਿਰ ਆ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ। ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਫੈਮਲੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਰ ਫੈਮਲੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਡਾ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਸੀ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਕੁਝ ਸਾਲਾਂ ਤੋਂ। ਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ 'ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਾਫੀ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਾ ਔਰ ਮੈਂ ਇਨਵੋਲਵ ਸੀਗਾ। ਨੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਲੈਵਲ ਦੀ ਇੱਕ ਕੈਂਪੇਨ ਸੀਗੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਰਵਿੰਦ ਦੁੱਗਲ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਟਾਰਟ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ, ਅਸੀਂ ਦੋਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਮਿਲ ਕੇ, ਤੇ ਉਹ ਹੁਣ ਉਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਪਹਿਲਾ ਸਕਸੈਸ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਮਿਲ ਗਿਆ।
ਅੱਛਾ ਜੀ।
ਕਿ ਹੁਣ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ 10 ਸਾਲ ਲਗਾਤਾਰ ਰਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ, ਪਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਹੁਣ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਅੱਗੇ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਜਾਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਤੇ ਜੋ ਮੇਰਾ ਹੁਣ ਕਮਿਟਮੈਂਟ ਰਹੇਗੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਇਹ ਰਹੇਗੀ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬੈਲੈਂਸ ਆਫ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਟੈਸਟ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਅਨਫੇਅਰ ਟੈਸਟ ਹੈ। ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ ਇੱਥੇ ਆਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਉਂ ਰੋਕ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ? ਤੇ ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ ਜੋ ਪਰਮਾਨੈਂਟ PR ਹੈ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿ 30 ਸਾਲ ਦੀ ਵੇਟ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਇੱਕ ਜੋਕ ਹੈ ਬੇਸਿਕਲੀ। ਉੱਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਕੰਮ ਕਰੂੰਗਾ ਜੇ ਲੇਬਰ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਹੈ। ਤੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਨਾਲ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆਈਲੈਟਸ ਦਾ ਟੈਸਟ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਇੱਕ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟ ਨੂੰ ਬੇਵਕੂਫ ਬਣਾਇਆ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਇੱਕ ਟੈਸਟ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇੱਕ ਫਰਾਡ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਹੈ, ਉਹਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਾਂਗਾ। ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਮੇਰੀਆਂ ਇਹ ਪ੍ਰਾਇਰਟੀਜ਼ ਨੇ। ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਇੱਕ ਐਕਟਿਵਿਸਟ ਲਿਮਿਟਿਡ ਕੰਮ ਹੀ ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ, ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਪਾਸੇ ਪੈਰ ਫਸਾਉਣ ਨਾਲੋਂ ਆ 2-3 ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਕੇ ਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੋਈ ਸਿਗਨੀਫੀਕੈਂਟ ਅਚੀਵਮੈਂਟ ਤੇ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ।
ਠੀਕ ਹੈ, ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਜੀ। ਤੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪਰਵਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਹੋਣਾ ਦੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ
ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੈਂਪੇਨ ਮੈਨੇਜਰ ਕਹਿ ਲਓ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਵੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਸਾਡੇ ਦਰਸ਼ਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਦੱਸੋ। ਜਿੱਦਾਂ
ਦੇਖੋ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਜੋ ਟਾਈਮ ਨਿਕਲ ਰਿਹਾ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਡੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਪੋਲੀਟਿਕਸ ਪਾਰਟਿਸਿਪੇਟ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਪੈਣੀ ਹੈ। ਮੈਂ ਕੀ ਦੇਖ ਰਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਟਾਈਮ ਤੋਂ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੀ ਪੋਲੀਟਿਕਸ ਦੀ, ਗੁਜਰਾਤੀ ਦੀ ਪੋਲੀਟਿਕਸ ਦੀ, ਹਾਲੇ ਤੱਕ ਇੱਥੇ ਉਹੀ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕਰੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਕਿ ਕੌਣ ਉੱਥੇ MLA ਬਣ ਗਿਆ, ਕਿਹੜਾ ਸਰਪੰਚ ਬਣ ਗਿਆ। ਉਹ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ, ਅਸੀਂ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਹਿ ਰਿਹਾ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਜਾਂ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਦੀ ਪੋਲੀਟਿਕਸ ਛੱਡ ਦਿਓ, ਪਰ ਘੱਟੋ ਘੱਟ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਏਰੀਆ ਸੜਕ ਕਿਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਣ ਰਹੀ, ਸਾਡੇ ਸਕੂਲਾਂ ਦਾ ਕੀ ਹਾਲ ਹੈ, ਕਿੱਥੇ 1800 ਬੱਚੇ ਹੈ, ਸਾਊਥ ਈਸਟ ਦੇ ਏਰੀਆਜ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਘੱਟ ਨੇ। ਤਾਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਖੁਦ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਅਵੇਅਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਵਾਂਗੇ ਉਦੋਂ ਤਾਂ ਕੁਝ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਣਾ। ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਪੋਲੀਟਿਕਸ ਮੈਂ ਇਹ ਸਮਝਿਆ ਚਾਹੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਹੈ ਚਾਹੇ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਦੀ ਹੈ, ਇਹ ਪੋਲੀਟਿਕਸ ਫੇਅਰ ਗੇਮ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ। ਪੋਲੀਟਿਕਸ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨਾ ਪੋਲੀਟਿਕਸ ਇਜ਼ ਡਰਟੀ ਗੇਮ। ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਇਸ ਲਈ ਕਦੇ ਵੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸੋਸਾਇਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਚੀਜ਼ ਡਿਲੀਵਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਕਰਨੀ। ਸੋਸਾਇਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਖੁਦ ਡਿਮਾਂਡ ਕਰਨੀ ਪੈਣੀ ਹੈ। ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ 4 ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਡਿਮਾਂਡ ਕਰੋਗੇ ਤਾਂ ਇੱਕ ਮਿਲਣੀ ਹੈ। ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਕੀ ਦੇਖ ਰਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਲੋਕ ਕੁਝ ਵੀ ਵੌਇਸ ਰੇਜ਼ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ। ਸਾਡੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਸੋ ਕਾਲਡ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਪੋਲੀਟੀਕਲ ਲੀਡਰਸ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ, ਪਰ ਉਹ ਫੇਸਬੁੱਕ ਤੋਂ ਅੱਗੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਵੱਧਦੇ। ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਜੀ। ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਪਰਵਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰੀਏ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਐਫਰਟ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਹੋਰ ਸਾਡੇ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਚੋਂ ਯੂਥ ਅੱਗੇ ਆਉਣ, ਬਹੁਤ ਮੇਲ ਫੀਮੇਲ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਦੇ ਜੰਮੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਵੀ ਅੱਗੇ ਆਉਣ। ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਮੈਂ ਕਾਫੀ ਗਰੁੱਪ ਨਾਲ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ, ਪਰਵਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਵੀ ਇੱਕ ਨੇ। ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਰਨ ਕਰੋ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਰਨ ਕਰਕੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਕੁਝ ਸਿੱਖਣ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਦਾ। ਮੀਡੀਆ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਕਰਨੀ, ਪਾਲਿਸੀਜ਼ ਤੇ ਡਿਬੇਟ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈ, ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਵਿਦ ਟਾਈਮ ਸਕਸੈਸ ਵੀ ਮਿਲੇਗਾ। ਪਰ ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਟਰਾਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਤਾਂ ਸਕਸੈਸ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਓਬਵੀਅਸਲੀ ਤਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਦੂਰ ਹੈ। ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਜਸਵਿੰਦਰ ਜੀ, ਬੜੀ ਚੰਗੀ ਗੱਲ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹੀ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਬੈਠ ਕੇ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਦੀ ਪੋਲੀਟਿਕਸ ਨੂੰ ਸੁਧਾਰਨਾ ਜਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਤਾਂ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਪਰ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਰਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਧਿਆਨ ਦੇਣ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਹੈ। ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੈ। ਤੇ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਜਸਵਿੰਦਰ ਜੀ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੀ ਸੇਵਾ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੈਗੇ। ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਜੀ।
ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਸ਼ੁਭ ਸ਼ਾਮਾਂ। ਤੇ ਨਾਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਲੋੜ ਹੋਵੇ ਜੀ,
ਸਾਡੀ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਤਾਂ ਬੜੇ ਸਾਲਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ।
ਤੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਸ਼ੁਭ ਸ਼ਾਮਾਂ ਜੀ। ਤੇ ਇਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੀ ਸੇਵਾ ਕਰਦੇ
ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ।
ਬਹੁਤ
ਧੰਨਵਾਦ। ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਜੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਐਫਰਟਸ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਮੀਡੀਆ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਉਹਦੇ ਲਈ ਮੇਰੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਸ਼ੁਭ ਕਾਮਨਾਵਾਂ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਜਸਵਿੰਦਰ ਜੀ।
ਧੰਨਵਾਦ।
ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਦੋਸਤੋ, ਅੱਜ ਫੰਕਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬੜੀ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਹੋਈ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਜੋ ਹਿਸਟੋਰੀਅਨ ਨੇ ਲਿਨ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਤੇ ਕ੍ਰਿਸਟਲ ਜੋਰਡਨ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਮੌਕਾ ਮਿਲਿਆ, ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਵਾਉਣ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ। ਕ੍ਰਿਸਟਲ ਜੋਰਡਨ, ਵੈਲਕਮ ਟੂ ਦਾ ਇੰਡੋ ਟਾਈਮ।
Hello, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Hello, how are you?
Just want to know, Lin Ken and Kris Jordan, you have done a lot of on the Sikh history, Indian history, and you have written a lot of books as well. Just want to know what are the major issues currently in the for the Indian community in Australia.
That's a big question, and I'll probably need a bit of time to answer that, so you might have to chop it. But I think that I could speak from the Australian point of view, my observations of the Sikh community as an Australian, but you as a Sikh observer would see a different set of problems. But for me, I see this is today's an exception, but I would like to see the Sikh community, particularly the Sikh religion, become mainstream religion, like Catholicism, all the Protestant religions, and be part of the whole community religious structure, and the Sikh community become observe the same as Irish and Catholics. We don't have history, we're historians, we don't have the history of Catholics in Australia or the history of Methodists in Australia. So why should we have a history in Australia of Sikhs in Australia? it should be Punjabis of the Sikh religion. It's a subtle difference, but I think that's a big difference. I don't believe in assimilation, but I would like to see like the interfaith movement in cultural events. And I saw it yesterday at the football at Reservoir Lakeside. That club's got quite a few Sikh boys there on the committee and playing football, and this is semi-professional. And it was good to see them at the football and being involved, but still wearing a turban and their case, but being part of the Australian community, same as a Catholic Australian or a Church of England Australian, and that's what I would like to see most.
We have a history of 180 years Australian history. You know, people came here 180 years ago. So, did you find any connection, Sikhs or Indian, in the politics in the previously?
No, not previously. No, they did support all political organisations and social and all that sort of thing, but they were more or less apolitical. I think it was part of a cultural cringe by the Sikhs in Australia to keep a low profile and not stick their heads out and get rocks chucked at them, if you know what I mean. But now with the growing population and the multiculturalism, which I think it's got its flaws, but it's the first step of many. I think the Sikhs are now getting the confidence, like today's event, Jaswinder and Parvinder, and that, to say, hey, we're getting right into the middle of the action in Australia. And that's what's needed, because without those people in the political system, you'll never get the decisions that you want for your community. And that's the difference between... The Catholics suffered the same fate up until 1915, 1916. There were very few Catholics in the public service, or it was almost exclusively Protestant, and also with doctors and lawyers and all the professions. And the Catholics took a progressive step to set up their own schools so that they could get into university and force their way into public service. And that's what the Sikhs need to do. They need to proliferate and get fingers in pies all around, and then they can change attitudes for a more integrated society. And that's the integration's what I'd like to see.
Okay. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
And Krista, what would you like to say to the Indian women or Indian community or Indian politics, you know, how they can involve?
Oh, there's no reason why a woman couldn't run for politics. No, it'd be nice to see more women in there, particularly Sikh. Yes, I'd like to see that. Get up and do it.
That might be a bit of a problem for the men in the Sikh community, see their women up there.
Yeah, yes.
But
We do notice that a lot of functions we go to, I'm the only female there quite often in the Sikh.
No, yeah.
But just look at the
And
room.
would like to see more females out there.
Look at the room that we're holding this function. How many women are here?
Yes.
But there are women. That's Chris is a little bit wrong. There are women, like Senator Singh from Tasmania is one exception,
Lisa Singh, yeah.
and the girl that was with the Greens.
Alex.
Alex
Yeah, Alex,
Bradley.
that was the exception.
Yeah, there are a couple of exceptions,
but
but it would
we-
be nice to see them.
We'd like them to jump on the coattail of the Australian women and say, we want some of that action.
Yes.
So this advice just for the Sikh community or the Indian, you have find?
I'm sorry, I spoke mainly for the Sikh community,
okay.
but the same thing carries over for the Hindus and all the rest. So when I was talking about the Sikhs, I was talking about all Indians as well. It could be related in that way.
We presumed you were asking about Sikh. Yes, we do mean all Indians. Yes.
All right. Okay, thank you very much, Krista, and thank you very much, Lynn.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for your time, and we will talk in the future as well.
Thank you
These
very
issues.
much. Thank you for having
Yes.
us.
Yeah,
Yep.
thank you.
Thank you.
ਦੋਸਤੋ ਸਕਲਨ ਜੋ ਹੈ ਪਾਰਲੀਮੈਂਟਰੀ ਫੈਡਰਲ ਪਾਰਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਏਰੀਆ ਉਹਦੇ ਜੋ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਨੇ ਐਂਡਰੂ ਜਾਲ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਨੇ ਇਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ 2 ਵਾਰੀ ਉਹ ਕਿਸਮਤ ਅਜਮਾ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਨੇ 2 ਵਾਰੀ ਐਮਪੀ ਰਹਿ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਨੇ 2 ਟਰਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੇ ਤੀਜੀ ਵਾਰੀ ਉਹ ਆਪਣੀ ਕਿਸਮਤ ਅਜਮਾ ਰਹੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਵਾਉਣ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਐਂਡਰੂ ਜਾਲ ਵੈਲਕਮ ਟੂ ਦ ਇੰਡੋ ਟਾਈਮਸ ਟੀਵੀ
It's really great to be here.
So you has been contest a federal election for the 3rd time. So how did you go with the last 2 terms?
Well, look,
What did you find? What are the major issues in the Skullen area for the Indian community or
Well,
Punjabi or Sikh
it's
community?
a really good question. For the Indian community generally, and probably the Punjabi and Sikh community too, there are issues which affect everyone, but particularly are importance to the Indian community. I think education is absolutely critical. Whenever I have a chat to a Sikh, it's the quality of our schools and access to education are two really important issues. Obviously, issues around infrastructure are important to everyone in the outer northern suburbs. So getting a Labor government that will give us a fair share of investment in road infrastructure and also improve public transport, which is so important. But there are a couple of issues which are specific to this community, and particularly I know there's been a big campaign and many people here have been involved in it about changes to the presently unfair long stay parent visa system. And I'm so pleased that a Labor government will make those changes, which will mean a lot to families in my electorate and to Indian families more generally in Melbourne.
All right. And the other thing is you are contesting for the third time. So how is your campaigning going?
Well,
So-
I've been enjoying it, and one of the great advantages of having been a member for a time is you build relationships and you understand community better. I think in my previous life as a lawyer, I know I was a lot better after 5 years than on my first day, and I hope that's true as a politician. I've learnt a lot. And I think I've learnt that there's a great value in listening, and I'm particularly pleased to be here in a big Indian and particularly Sikh and Punjabi gathering to understand what's particularly important to members of this community, to celebrate a community member who's putting his hand up for the Labor Party in the Senate in Parvinder, but to do a lot of listening too, to understand what's changing, because in the 5.5 years I've been the Member of Parliament here, the communities, especially around Epping and Epping North, have changed a lot. A lot of people have come here from India, particularly professional people, and they've got a particular set of issues. So listening to them, understanding how I can make their journey into the Australian community as effective and as on their terms as possible is really important to me.
So people living in the Scullin area, Scullin, your constituency. So if Indian or Sikh people or Punjabi people, they have any problem, how they can contact you, how are you going to help them, about the best way to contact you?
Well, look, I think the best way to contact is generally by email, and I'll read it out, andrew.giles.mp@aph.gov.au. But people can find me pretty easily on Facebook too. I know that's a way that a lot of people get around. But I also like it when people visit my office. So it's in the Stable Shopping Centre in Mill Park, which hopefully most people will know. And I'm in Canberra a bit or travelling generally, but I always like having visitors. There's nothing, email's convenient, Facebook's great too, but a face-to-face conversation is something that's very special.
All right. And thank you very much for your time, and we wish you all the best for the third time.
An absolute pleasure, and I hope to be interviewed here again.
Yeah, and we will talk to you the other issues in detail. So after the election,
That would be-
and we wish you all the best.
That would be an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank
Nice to
you.
meet Thank you. Thank you very much. ਦੋਸਤੋ ਅੱਜ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਵਿਕਟੋਰੀਆ ਦੇ ਐਨਰਜੀ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਲਿਲੀ ਅੰਬਰੇਸੀਓ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਵਾਉਣ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਲਿਲੀ ਅੰਬਰੇਸੀਓ ਵੈਲਕਮ ਟੂ ਦ ਇੰਡੋ ਟਾਈਮ ਟੈਲੀਵਿਜ਼ਨ
Thank you so much.
what are the major issues for the Indian community and how Victorian government or you are energy minister, you are going to help for the Indian community, Indian
Well-
Punjabi or Sikh community here?
Absolutely, and certainly we have a very, very strong Indian and Sikh community here in Melbourne, and also I'm absolutely very honoured that a sizable proportion of my own electorate has a very, very strong community. And what is always very important for members of Parliament and governments is to focus on how we can assist all types of communities, no less so the Indian and Sikh communities, to access every opportunity possible, not just for them, but also for their children and their grandchildren, because we know, of course, that when we value and fully integrate all diversity, whether it's cultural, whether it's ethnic, racial, language-based cultures and diversity, we all benefit from that. And you can simply see that the great success that Victoria is in terms of multicultural, multi-faith community, where we can live in relative peace and prosperity right across the communities, no matter where people live and their backgrounds.
Victorian Premier, Mr. Daniel Andrew, he helped a lot for the Sikh Games or the Sikh celebrations and coming in November as well. So do you have any other support or any other in mind in the future? So you are providing to the Indian or Sikh community?
Well, we know, of course, that with the growing diverse communities that we do have, it is vital for our government to continue to provide the necessary support to be able to grow opportunities for young people in particular from amongst those communities to fully participate and engage in sporting activities. We know, of course, that from sporting activities comes much better health and greater social harmony and cohesion. And that's why our Premier, Daniel Andrews, has been such an avid fan of Sikh sporting activities. I reflect on the fact that a number of years ago, one of the first kabaddi tournaments that we had in Victoria was held in my own electorate in the Epping area. And of course that has gone from strength to strength.
And also just want to know, if in your constituency or from my community, in the community or Sikh or Punjabi community, if anybody have any issue, how they can contact you?
We are only a phone call away, and I'm always very, very accessible. I would invite anybody who may have an issue that they wish to pursue on behalf of their own community or other organisations that they're participating in, or indeed if they have a matter that is of a personal nature, they are always welcome in my electorate office, absolutely, as they are in all members of Parliament, especially amongst the Labor members of Parliament, who have a very strong record and work very hard together with local communities, the Indian and the Sikh communities, to facilitate all of the aspirations and the hope of what is a very, very proud community, and I'm absolutely delighted to be able and available to assist in any way possible.
And also, just want to know, Parvinder Singh, he's a contestant for the senator. What would you like to say for him?
Well, Parvinder is a wonderful ambassador for the Australian Labor Party. He brings with him to his candidacy for the Senate great skill and an intellect that is very, very strong, and he will make a great contribution to the Senate. And also, of course, the added benefit is that he is from the Indian communities, the Sikh communities, and it is so vital for our parliaments to more broadly reflect the great diversity that we have, not just within the Great Australian Labor Party, but our broader community. It's when we help to achieve a greater reflection of what the broader community looks like, do we actually achieve a much, much better democracy and, importantly, much better outcomes from governments. And our Labor Party is absolutely committed to growing those opportunities and working in partnerships within the Labor family.
Okay, Lily, thank you very much, and wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, and I wish Parvinder every success in his candidacy, and we are all there supporting him and the broader community that he's representing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Naim Kurt. I'm the Deputy Mayor of Hume City Council, which is the council just west of here over the Merry Creek, but I'm a Northern Suburbs boy, and it's fantastic to be here this afternoon at this meet and greet with our candidates for the Northern Suburbs. Can I please welcome Andrew Giles, who's one of our candidates and who's the member for Scullin. We've also got Parvinder Singh as well, who's the Senate candidate for Victoria. And we're also very special to be joined by Lily D'Ambrosio as well, who's the state member for Mill Park and is also the Minister for Energy, Environment and Climate. Thank you everyone for turning up this afternoon. I know this has been organised at very short notice. I think it was just the last weekend which was put together. And thank you as well to the people at Heritage Receptions and the Rinda here for being able to host us for today's event. As is customary, I'd like to acknowledge that we are meeting on the land of the Wurundjeri today, and I'd like to welcome their elders, both past and present, and the elders from any other Indigenous communities who may be here today. I'd also like to acknowledge as well the elders who are here from the Sikh and Indian communities as well. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. I know that we also have a number of media partners from the Indian community as well, so thank you for joining us for today's event. And I'd also like to give a special welcome as well to Len Kenner and Crystal Jordan, who have both founded the Australian Indian Historical Society. I know I've written a number of books about the history, the long-established history of Indians in Australia, which has stretched back over hundreds of years now. And I think there's 7 books they were telling me they've written, and probably more which are in the pipeline as well. So it's fantastic to have you two joining us as well. Next up, I would like to invite our member, Lily D'Ambrosio, who's the member for Mill Park. Lily, would you be able to come up and just give a few words to our forum today and introduce yourself and let us know a bit about yourself and what you're doing for the Labor community here? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Naomi. And I'm absolutely delighted to be here. A room full of great supporters, great representatives of the broader community. And I would like to acknowledge also the traditional owners, the Wurundjeri people. They're the custodians of this land and the traditional owners, of course, and I pay my respects to all of the elders, past and present, and any who may be here amongst us today. And of course, I give great thanks to the Indian and Sikh communities for organising this very important event. We know that the Indian and Sikh communities have a very, very keen interest in the way that our society functions, the way that our democracy functions, and what better way to understand that better and be engaged and ensure that the representatives of the democracy that we have, whether it's at the state level, local government level, or indeed federal level, what better way than to ensure that the views and the opinions and the discussion and the debate occurs in forums such as this. So I thank you very much for the opportunity. But very simply, my role here, my focus here is one that is from a perspective of a state Labor government and the importance of having good partnerships and relationships with a federal Labor government. And I say that because I know that Labor in government, whether it's at the state level or the federal level, have been built on the engagement and the relationships that we have established with older communities, with current communities, emerging communities, and no doubt will continue in the good tradition of Labor to engage with newer communities that call not just Victoria their home, but the rest of the country. And one thing that is very much in common, no matter at what point of time those communities have been engaged with Labor, is that we never forget and we always grow in our appreciation of how vital it is that we have a truly integrated community. Because when we have that, not only do we have opportunities and real tangible benefits that are shared more equally, no matter what people's background, no matter what people's culture, ethnicity, language, race, country of birth, no matter any of that, the opportunities are real, they're tangible, and they are fairly available to all of us, and our children and our grandchildren. That is much important. That is as much important to me as a daughter of Italian immigrants, as no doubt it is to you. And importantly, as the opportunities that are adopted by yourselves or your children and grandchildren, for them to make a place for themselves and their families and the broader community here, in whichever course of career or future or ambition they wish to pursue. That is something that must be valued, and I know that the Indian and Sikh communities have a wonderful representation in all parts of our economy, in all types of careers, in all avenues and walks of life, and that is as it should be. So, and I really do want to say so much how proud I am for me to have such a strong community, such a strong and Indian communities in my own electorate, that it means that we have really the opportunity through Labor to voice what is important to yourselves, not just from a cultural sense, but really what does it mean for you in terms of better health and education, and of course the opportunities for career advancement and jobs. and housing, all of those things that mean which are equally important no matter what your background is. So as our government, a Labor government that has invested very significantly in so much infrastructure, so much in terms of health services, education services, creation of jobs and career opportunities, strengthening our TAFE systems, and of course celebrating multicultural and multi-faith communities every single day in real tangible ways. How much better all of that will be with a federal Labor government. And that is why I look to Parvinder, I look to Andrew Giles and others in the broader Labor family to win us this election, because we know that all of you, all of us, deserve so much more when we have a genuine partnership, which I know that the Victorian Labor government through Daniel Andrews will have with a future Shorten Labor government, and indeed the fantastic representatives that we have here amongst our local community to bring that voice forward and to bring and grow the benefits for all of our community. So they are a few words, not too many detailing all the specifics, because I'll leave that to the candidates to communicate that. But it is a great pleasure and an honour for me to be here to add a few words to what is going to be probably the most important federal election that we've had in, I would say, decades. And I believe that to be the case. Decisions need to be made. We cannot have any more time wasted on so many important things, such as the ones that I've mentioned earlier. So I wish you all well, and I do want to particularly acknowledge Jasvinder Sidhu for being a very good organiser. In many respects, he has been in the community for a long, long time. And I do want to give my respects to Jasvinder for all of the work that he's done in bringing all of you together. I know there are many leaders in this room, but if I begin to name each one of you, I may end up spending another half an hour talking, but I do give my respects to all of you here and collectively. Thank you again.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Lily D'Ambrosio, for that really warm and generous speech which you've just given us now. Of course, Lily D'Ambrosio, of course, is the Minister as well. She's on a very tight schedule, and we know that we're in the middle of a federal campaign as well, so that's why we need to move on quite quickly. But I think your words about multicultural Victoria, particularly in the northern suburbs, we've got a really strong multicultural community. I know that both my parents were migrants to this country. I know many in this room are migrants to this country, and I think as a party, as the Labor Party, we do it better than anyone else in connecting with our migrant communities. And on that note, could I please invite Andrew Giles, the Shadow Minister for Schools, and hopefully a future Federal Minister, Assistant Minister for Schools as well, up here. Also the member for Scullin, and also in the middle of an election campaign. So please tell us a bit about yourself and what you're planning to do for the suburbs. Thank you.
Thanks, Naeem, and I'm sorry that I grabbed the microphone off you so early. Thanks for such a generous invitation and introduction, rather. Look, I'd like to join Naeem and Lily in also acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands on which we're gathered and pay my respects to elders past and present. And I'd also like to say how honoured and how humbled I am to be in this room. It's a great privilege to take a break from door knocking out in Mernda on a not so warm day, to be in a room that is so warm and so filled with important people, many of whom I consider old friends, others I hope to become good friends with and to learn from. And I of course acknowledge my very old friend, that the age reflects the duration of our friendship, not either of our age, Lee D'Ambrosio, whose speech summed up the qualities and the character that she brings to public life. And it's both an inspiration and a challenge to share an area to represent with Lily, because she sets a very high standard. I'll get to you at the end, Parvinder, but to acknowledge that there are many members here from the executive of the Craigieburn Temple, and I pay my respects to you. And I join Lily in acknowledging Jasvinder as someone who has had an enormous impact in the Labor community, the community in which he lives in Melbourne's West, and I'm sure will continue to make a difference on behalf of this community and for all of us. It's great to be in this room with so many significant people. And I should also acknowledge our very generous hosts. I'm looking forward to sampling the wares of the heritage too as well. Look, I want to speak very briefly because I think there's a much more important candidate for this election that we all want to hear from. But I want to say a couple of things. One is that in my 5 and a bit years as the federal member for Scullin, the electorate that I represent has changed quite a bit. And it's changing with new patterns of migration and new suburbs forming. And probably the biggest change has been in the in Scullin having a very established Indian and particularly Sikh community, established but not very big. Now it's an establishing and very big presence in my electorate. And so my Punjabi needs a bit of work, and perhaps there are plenty of good tutors in taking me through a more detailed appreciation of Sikhism. But I like to think of many of its precepts as standing for our Labor Party at its best too, in terms of a tradition of service and concern for others. I'm sure we can fill in the gaps in terms of my knowledge, but it seems to me a very natural coming together. But I've noticed in my conversations, whether it's in Bandura or Mill Park, or particularly in Epping North and Wollert, that this increasing presence, particularly of younger people of Indian background who are Sikhs, their concerns are for the things that the Daniel Andrews government have been doing so well and Bill Shorten's opposition has been talking about, particularly in the area that I am interested in on behalf of Bill Shorten's team, in the area of schools and education. I rarely have a conversation with someone of Sikh background which the conversation doesn't turn to questions of education. And if we think about, for me, the difference between the two parties contesting this federal election, I think education sums it up, because this election is about whether Australia chooses the path of hope or the path of fear. And for me, hope is so much about whether we give every Australian every chance to live their best life, which comes from schools. It comes from investing in childcare and early education for everyone. Great announcements that I've been so proud to be part of for Labor. It comes to making sure that our universities are the best in the world and that every Australian who achieves at school can attend them and be supported to do so. And also that we have a world-class TAFE, building on the reinvestments of the Daniel Andrews Labor government in Victoria. And this sense of education is the great enabler. Education is Labor's way of making sure that wherever you start in life, you get every opportunity to make a great contribution, fulfil your potential and contribute to our overall potential. It comes back to some of the things that Lily was saying about recognising that our great strength as a nation is that we share two unique qualities. We have the great privilege of sharing this continent with the world's oldest continuing civilisation in our First Nations people, and everyone else brings their own culture to it. And I think that's what makes Melbourne's North, as Naim was touching on, such a great place to live. That sharing of cultures every day for me is a journey. But it also comes to the question of our politics, because while I'm proud of Labor being the party of multiculturalism, I'm disappointed that too many voices in our political space don't embrace multiculturalism, that too many reactionary forces in our politics and our media define people by reason of where they come from. And I want to be very clear in this forum and in every forum, as Bill Shorten is, that is not the Labor way, that we must stand against the forces of racism and intolerance at every turn, that we must do more than produce laws that outlaw discrimination. We must make sure that every bit of meaningful space in our country is open to all of us. And I think this comes to our democracy too, which is what I want to end on. I'm very proud that we have a strong system of representative democracy, that we don't have mob rule in Australia. And I think we need to talk about how that democracy can work better. I know that many people, especially young people, feel very cynical about our politics. That's something that I'm determined to do something about. And I think when I think of the work that Jasvinder and others do in reaching out to community, I think that's a great way in saying to people that politics isn't just about people looking after themselves. It's about people with capacity to do good things, reaching out to others and engaging with them on their terms. But it's also about recognising that our politics has got to be much closer to our people in every other respect. And I know that the parliament in which I sit doesn't look like modern Australia, particularly on the Liberal side. And in Labor, we're making big strides. There's been a strong recognition, and Lily, you were there at the start to say, to be fair, our politics has got to be equally comprised of men and women. That's true, and I'm excited that the Labor government that I hope to be part of will probably have more women than men sitting in the parliament. But we still don't reflect the diversity of the Australian community yet. We still don't reflect that diversity. And that means, I think, we're not getting the best Labor representations. We are not making sure that we're breaking down the barriers. And today, I'm very pleased, Parvinder, to be part of this celebration of your candidacy for the Senate, because it's about your qualities as a person, your success in business, your contribution as a husband and a father, your great organisational skills. As someone involved in the complexities of an election campaign, I'm just staggered at the challenge of the leadership role you played in organising the Sikh Games, which must make the Normandy invasion look like a Sunday picnic. But it's about a demonstration of this community's voice being seen on the largest stage in Australian representative democracy. Your qualities are important, but also who you are as a member of this community is important too. So I'm very pleased to be here today. I look forward to sharing the campaign trail with you and all the wonderful people in this room. It's great to be here.
Thank you, Andrew. That's Andrew Giles, the Shadow Assistant Minister for Schools, and also the member for Scullin and a candidate at this election as well. I think what you touched upon as well, particularly talking about the politics of racism and fear, is a really big issue this election. I know I was at a pre-poll in Corwell, and we had the Fraser Anning candidate who was out there, and he was handing out horrible material, criticising multiculturalism, criticising immigration policies, and I think everyone in this room will be quite concerned about that, and that's why we really need strong Labor candidates. That's why we need strong people like Parvinder. And Parvinder, I want to congratulate you on becoming a candidate for this election for the Senate. We know that the Indian community is a growing community in Melbourne's north, and particularly in Hume. We've got a Gurudwara out there. It's a growing community, and it's across the north there. And we saw at the state election a number of Indian candidates who stood for election, a number of whom were elected successfully to the state parliament. And we're all hoping and cheering for you that you'll be one of those who'll be able to get that 4th Senate spot for us and be able to give us a controlling block in the Senate at this election. So please, can I welcome you up, Parvinder, to give a few words to everyone who's here today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor Nair. Thank you for the really lovely introduction you have already given for me. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank everyone that you have come here on very short notice. It was, I think it was very quickly we organized this function a week before, and you guys have really supported us to come here. I would like to acknowledge and thank you, the Honourable Lily Dumbrasio, MP Victorian, Minister for Energy, Environment and Climate Change, for accepting our invitation to come here on a very short notice. Thank you again. We are also very privileged to have our Andrew Giles MP, who is our local federal MP from Scullin, and who's been a member here for last 2 terms, and again he's going for election this time. He's been doing work in this area for a long time, and he's one of the, I would say, best and hard worker MP you would see in this area. Also, I would like to acknowledge Councillor Naim Kurd, our Deputy Mayor of Hume City Council, and thank you for accepting to come our invitation to come here, and thank you for doing the MC for us. Now, if we see the new and emerging communities that we have, we are living as a community here, the large influx of subcontinental communities in the last 10 to 15 years has posed certain challenges and opportunities for labor. The key question has been informing these communities of labor achievements and contribution to the high standard of life we enjoy in this country, and making them aware of why their only choice of political parties is Labour. The Labour Party's support to multiculturalism, social justice, the provision of equal opportunities for all, and thinking ahead of time is what sets it apart from other parties. We believe that it is Labour's values and Labour priorities that will deliver better outcomes for all of us and for Australia. It was Labour that abolished work choices and introduced the Fair Work Act in 2009, which provides safety net of minimum entitlements, enables flexible working arrangements, and fairness at work. And also it prevents discrimination against employees. And if Labour comes into power, they will make the minimum wage as a living wage, which is very important for all the working class that we are having in this room as well. Labour always fought for social progressive policies such as the aged pension, superannuation, and penalty rates for workers. Labour has always supported fair pay, gender, and racial equality. And it was the Labour Party that recognized and engaged with key challenges facing Australia in the first 2 decades of the 21st century. These were the global financial crisis and climate change. It was Labour that understood that was needed and introduced the National Broadband Network, which is essential in ensuring that Australian industry and small businesses would compete internationally, and in ensuring that education and services could be efficiently delivered throughout the country, including all of the regions. The list of Labour's achievement is quite extensive, and we can go on and on. As Australia's migrant and multicultural communities, we work very hard to establish our lives in Australia here. As a migrant myself and as a father, I understand the importance of having our grandparents in my daughter's life. I'm proud to be part of the campaign that delivered the long stay parent visa policy. Arvind Duggal started the campaign in Adelaide in around 2015, and it was then led by Arvind and Jaswinder Sidhu. I joined them in 2016. It was great to work with federal Labour MPs, and I can proudly say that Labour has committed to deliver a fairer long stay parent visa if we win government. As migrants, affordable education is also very important for us. Only Labour will deliver policies for the modern challenges we face, including fair funding for schools, more investments in universities, our health systems, and other areas. Australia is known for its lifestyle and living standards, but over the last few years, everything has gone up except people's wages. Only Labour will reinstate penalty rates to ensure those who work on weekends are paid their fair share. Only Labour has a plan to get wages moving again. And at last, I would say that if Labour comes in power, I can assure one thing, that the most important thing, which is very important for myself as well, is the equality. And that is the most important reason I joined Labour about 5 years before. Equality is the thing which everybody deserves, but it's not given so far from other parties. And I believe Labour is the party which is the fairer out of all other, as compared to other parties who really believe in equality and a fair go. So at last, I would like to thank you everyone to join us, and you can enjoy the rest of the day. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Parvinder, for those very generous and kind words which you've given, and clearly a student in Labor history as well. And I think what you touched upon at the end, particularly about the importance of equality and fairness, I think that's why we're all members of the Labor Party. It's why we believe in the Labor Party, because that's the party which provides equality and fairness across our society, and that's the best hope for achieving that. Everyone here, can I please thank you all once again for your attendance? Can I thank once again our speakers, the Honourable Lily D'Ambrosio, Andrew Giles as well, and Parvinder as well. Can I remind everyone that we do have a federal election in a couple of weeks' time, so please, all of you who are here, please vote Labor. Please speak to your families, please speak to your friends as well. Make sure they vote Labor as well, because we need a strong Labor federal government in power, because they can work with the state government and deliver a fair share for Victorians here. So good luck, Parvinder. Thank you once again for organising this. Thank you, Andrews and Andrew Giles, and we wish you all the best, and let's enjoy some food. Thank you.